All right, how are we doing today, everybody? Today, I have a very special guest with me. She has been in movies such as All of My Children, The Taking of Deborah Logan, Shutter Island, and in the queer Christmas movie A Holiday I Do. Jill Larson is with us today. How you doing, Jill?
I'm very well, thank you, and happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, let's just jump into it. So you play the mother slash grandmother of the main character in A Holiday I Do. Her name is Mary Ellen McShirley.
Yeah.
So I gotta know, what drew you to the role in A Holiday I Do?
Well, to tell you the truth, Noah, as an actress, um, of a certain age, as they say, the euphemism for old, you are drawn to the projects that come your way. It's not, to ask what drew me to it suggests that I have, several opportunities and which one will I pick. Unfortunately, it's not like that. It's more the other way around. But in truth, when Paul and Alicia sent me the script, um, I I was drawn to it. I thought it was a really sort of a sweet story, and it had more sort of twists in it than one sometimes has come to. The Christmas movies are pretty formulaic, and as this one fits into that genre. That's what it is. So but I thought it had some nice heart and soul to it, and we each talked a bit about my character to try to bring a little more depth to her, so that she was, I just felt like she needed to be a bigger part of the story since it was her farm. And so yeah, and working on it was a lovely, lovely experience. So
And you mentioned working with Paul and Alicia Schneider, who were the co-directors and co-writers of A Holiday I Do. And it seems that the way you spoke, that the role that you took was originally much smaller, but through like talking it out and like actually fleshing out your character with the directors, it seemed that it just kind of grew into this bigger role. Was that necessarily the case, or
it
was it a
wasn't
matter of?
necessarily about size, because she was, sort of in the film throughout. But my question to them was, I can't imagine myself she was kind of described as always baking cookies. And yes, maybe she bakes cookies because she's anxious or whatever. But if it were me, I would have to take some kind of action at some point if I were threatened with the loss of my home. I'm not going to just bake cookies. So that was when we had to just write in a little more substance for her, and her relationship with oh gosh, I'm terrible with names, the character who works for the bank. And so anyway, and discussing why it was I would keep that information from my daughter for as long as I did, and some of those questions. And I don't know that they were necessarily explained per se in the script in terms of language. Well, yes, they were, but it was more in terms of my preparing to do the role. What depth can you bring to a character, to any character, really. So
No, that's really, I love that answer simply just because, sometimes the descriptions and details you only get about your character are surface level. And for an
right.
actor, sometimes something that's surface level is not necessarily enough, even for a role, I don't want to say as simple as like the role of a mother in like a Christmas movie. it's like even then, sometimes you just kind of want to like dig your teeth into something and actually really be like, okay, yes, I get it. She bakes cookies, but like, what else? What else
Who
is she?
else is
What else does
she?
she do?
Right, right. And it's not just for the actor. I mean, that's partially the actor's role, is to bring a full-blown human being to the screen, not just what's written on the page. So, yeah, so that's part of it. But it's also for the enjoyment of the audience. You want characters that people can really relate to on a deeper level, that they can identify their grandma or their mother or whoever in each of the characters, because it makes the texture and the fabric of the story much richer. So,
Precisely. It's
yeah.
about giving more, not just for yourself, but for everyone else too.
Yeah.
If the audience is able to resonate with your character, then you've done your job as an actor and an actress. Um, Now, what was it like working? Like we know what it's like working with Alicia and Paul, but with Lindsay Hicks, who plays your on-screen daughter, you two seem to have just the most beautiful chemistry down on screen. So I'm wondering, what was it like working with her? Did you guys
It was
rehearse?
horrible, just terrible. No. No, it was one of those experiences where I think that our instant, first of all, everyone on the set was delightful, delightful. And that's, yeah, I came into the film at a time when they had already done a certain amount of shooting, the main characters, and then we got disrupted by COVID. So we had to postpone for, I think it was 6 weeks or longer. And then we finally got to come back together. So things got disrupted, and the shooting schedule got messed up as a result of that. But everyone was so welcoming. And yes, Lindsay is a delight. And we did kind of have an instant chemistry. And so I thoroughly enjoyed working with her. She's wonderful.
Now you had mentioned that this was also shot during, COVID restrictions and all that stuff, all that fun jazz that we like to remember.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did that lead to any sort of like, I don't want to say contention on set, because it does seem like you all had at least a very fine time making the film, but was there ever any moments where it was just like the tension and pressure brought upon by, the restrictions and by COVID? Did that ever weigh down on anybody, or was it just kind of like, well, this is the situation we're currently in. Better make the most of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And I think once we came back after, initially 2 actors tested positive, and so they had to shut down the set. And then they had to send the LA actors home. And it was, I think I got the thing like the night before I was scheduled to fly out to, it was shot in Michigan. And so I just felt so bad for them because, they put their heart and soul and blood and money into making an independent feature. And you have something like that, a monkey wrench like that thrown into the works, and that's really costly. And that could kill your whole project. So I was very grateful that they were able to maintain just continue shooting, really, to put it simply. To pick up where they left off, because we didn't come back to shoot until I think it was April, and there was no snow then. So they did some very fancy shot organizing and stuff in order to make that work.
That is also something I actually wanted to add on, because when it comes to making holiday movies, sometimes you either shoot out a year in advance to help save money with the Christmas settings and all that stuff, or you wind up shooting partway through the summer you know, so you have it's 80 degrees outside and yeah, you're wearing like a big coat and you're talking about how cold you are. So what I'm wondering is did you ever run into situations like that during shooting where, you know, you had to pretend that, oh, it's Christmas time. Meanwhile, you look outside, you see a guy jump in the pool, and you're just like, I'm sweating so much.
I didn't have that on this film, but I have had it on a couple of other films, yeah. And I don't know, yeah, yes, I have. We did it once in New York City in July, and they brought in a huge, you know, on 6th Avenue and 19th Street in the middle of July, and they brought in a huge truck and created a blizzard. And unfortunately, that scene never made it into the movie, but it was, you know, all bundled up for winter, and it's mighty hot out there. So
What movie was this
that's the
for?
fun of filmmaking, right?
Exactly.
It
Um,
really is.
do you remember what movie it was for?
Yeah, it was for 28 Days with Sandra Bullock.
Really?
And yeah, and the tiny part that I had to do with that blizzard, and that whole section was not in the end not used in the film, but it was fun to do. So,
I mean,
and
having
that was
fun.
a studio film, so they had the resources to bring in a blizzard in the middle of July, you know. But you wouldn't do that on indie.
Speaking of other films, you actually do have at least somewhat of a tenure working in some horror films. You were in Shutter Island, you were in Manor, and your most famous role, if I can say that, Deborah Logan in The Taking of Deborah Logan. Now, I am wondering, and this is a very dumb question, but is there a difference in atmosphere, at least on set, or even for you when it comes to taking a role in a horror film, when it comes to like taking a role in like a comedy or a romance?
Well, the Taking of Deborah Logan was really the first full-fledged horror movie that I was ever in, and I'd never even seen one. So I had no idea what I was getting into. While we were shooting, I thought, well, I better at least see one. So I tried to watch Rosemary's Baby, and once those creatures appeared in the basement, I thought, I can't watch anymore. So that was the extent of my exposure to the genre. But it was so totally fun. Even walking around with those snakes in my hands. The only part that was really hard for me was when I had to put all that icky fake blood stuff in my mouth and have it run down me. You know, that it was like, oh no, I can't do that. But you know, obviously you do it all. But it's just so fun. I just can't tell you how great it was. You know, that scene where I'm ripping all the pots and pans out of the cupboard and throwing everything around and everything. I mean, that's every person's dream. It's like being a 3-year-old having a temper tantrum and you're grown up. So yeah, they're great fun. And they're a specific genre, and I have come to greatly respect and appreciate that genre now that I have a little more experience with it. And I just finished one actually called The Wrath of Becky. And I play a white supremacist terrorist who founds a terrorist cell that's going to do an insurrection. And that's streaming right now. And that's scary, but it's also very funny. And I think there is a lot of humor actually in horror films. They try to bring it in anyway when they can.
And quick question, where can people currently watch this film?
I think it's on Amazon.
Oh, well, but by all means, everybody, please check it out. Like if for those of you that have seen Taking a Deborah Logan, you know Jill's capability to be a
To be scary.
horrifying actress. Oh, good God. Sorry. I mentioned this to her earlier, but your role in taking Deborah Logan, uh, it weirdly enough it is a bit of a horror icon when it comes to indie horror, just due to the one image that's like almost synonymous with the film, which is, you know, your character's mouth is unhinged and you're trying to engulf your like your granddaughter,
Right.
and it's just like slime is like, oh my goodness,
It is horrible. Just
it's
horrible.
great. Oh my God, you because it warmed my heart hearing you saying, you know, oh my God, you know, you get to go inside a kitchen, you get to rip pots and pans off, you know, you get to work with blood, and it's like it's fun. It's great to see an actor or an actress be put in these situations in like horror movies, and then just them going, you know, yeah, you know, maybe it was like a long shoot, but I had a blast, you know. So,
Yes, it was.
um,
I mean, not to say it wasn't difficult. There were times standing out, in the November 2 in the morning and the weather is 30 degrees and you're in a little nightgown and it's not all just, I mean, that part was fun too, but it was very uncomfortable.
oh
So,
no, as I'm sure nobody take it from a former water polo player that had to be in a Speedo in like 30-degree weather. Meanwhile, you're sopping cold and you're
oh
just like
gosh,
having the
yeah,
time of my life, having the
that's
time.
right.
Um, but no, it's fun to hear you talk about, you know, comedy, working on like sets that are comedy and romance driven in comparison to something that's like horror. Um, but you also talk about challenges that comes with sometimes not just these roles or genres, just both within the profession as a whole. So I am wondering as well, what would what is the most challenging either role or film that you have ever worked on? And what about them was challenging?
I don't know if this is kind of a watery answer, but in a way, they're all challenging in their own way.
Hmm.
There's a lot of preparation that goes into creating this character. I've had a long history in theater, and in the theater, you get to create a character over a period of 2 or 3 weeks of rehearsal and exploration and connection with the other actors and so forth, and the director. In film and television, you really don't have that. And so you have to bring the whole shebang with you the first day you arrive. You don't have time to discover it as you go along. And so you might arrive and the second day of rehearsal, you're doing the last shot of the movie. So you have to have somehow made a place in the story for your character and an explanation and an understanding of your character for the whole duration of the film before you get there. And so that's always scary. Sometimes I'll get to a set and I was working on something where there was a very contentious actress who was playing with me, and I just that if you have a personality issue like that, that's a big challenge, and then you don't want to bring whatever brushing up against each other there is to the screen, and so it's you never know what you're going to, that's why working with Lindsay is such a relief to get there and to have such a warm and welcoming and funny and delightful and beautiful actress, be there as your daughter, is great. It's an extra gift, I guess you could say.
Oh, well, I mean, one, that was not a watery answer. You know, not every actor is the same. Some people are
Yeah,
more afraid of rehearsals. Some people are more afraid of the physical aspects.
yeah,
Being just afraid of trying to make sure you do right by the role. That's always a good answer. And
Yeah.
Speaking of contention, I'd actually, to hear you say you had kind of a contentious relationship with one of your co-stars, I don't think that's something any actor would ever want to be into. Moving on in terms of fears as an actor, sometimes those fears, those are about, either making a fool of yourself, or maybe you're afraid that the audience won't like your performance, or maybe if you have a family, maybe afraid that your family may not like your performance. So that leads me to my next question, which I did bring up earlier.
Yeah.
Has your daughter seen A Holiday I Do?
Um, my daughter really hasn't seen much of my work at all. And I don't mind that. I think that's fine. I think that um I think it's maybe kind of weird or hard to have a parent who for whom the public has their own relationship with that person through how they've seen them on screen or how they imagine them. When I was on All My Children for so many years, a lot of people on the street and everything would want to talk to me. And I think that's hard for a child, and not that my daughter was ever, expressive of that, but it was always an intrusion. It just is. And so I do have a funny story though about Deborah Logan came out while she was in college, and she knew I'd been shooting it, and she was in her dorm room, and a couple of her friends came in, guys, and just said, "Oh my God, we saw the most scary movie. It's so terrifying. I can't believe it. There's this woman in it, and you can't believe how scary she is. You've got to see it. Have you seen it? Have you seen it?" And she said, "Yeah, it's so scary. You've got to see it." She said, "Yeah, that's my mom." So, that's a little example. And,
Oh,
so
excuse me, but oh my
yeah,
goodness. Oh my God, just the most scary woman I've ever seen. Have you seen it?
exactly.
That, that's my mom.
That's my mom. Yeah, you should see her at home.
That's exactly that's what's funny. And that's always the appropriate response for, like, in regards to your, like, either your child or even just talking about your parent. Like, oh, you
Yeah,
think she's scary now? Wait until you see her at home.
right,
But no, I'm glad to see that, she at least has humor in knowing that her mom's an actress. And
right.
by the way, before this interview had started, I was gushing to Jill, I was gushing to you about how much, like, taking a Deborah Logan meant to me and a couple of my friends growing up, simply just because, we loved found footage horror films. And,
Yeah,
taking a Deborah Logan, that to me, that was one of, like, because we watched way too many movies, but that film in particular, that always really got it, like, because it wasn't like terrifying, it was just unnerving,
yeah.
and that mainly stemmed from just how good of a performance you gave.
Oh,
um
thank you.
but I will not hold you for much longer, so I just have a couple more questions. The first
By
one
all means.
being, I always try to ask this to any sort of creative, whether it be, music, film, TV, but usually most creatives I know have like a dream project that they would love to do. So I am wondering, do you have like a project or even like a role that, like, back in your mind, you're going, man, I would love to be able to do something like that?
You're asking me these open-ended questions. They're hard.
I know.
Um,
I'm sorry. I do
no, that's
apologize.
all right. It's a very interesting question. And more than a specific character or, playing Hamlet or something, I think that I would love I would love more chances to work in film, or even in television, in a way that has a real arc. I'm not a movie star. I am a working, mostly working actor. And so oftentimes, especially in Hollywood movies and stuff, I'm brought in for a few scenes or a couple of days or something like that. But what Deborah Logan gave me the delight of being able to do was to have a character that went through the whole film. And that's the really thrilling stuff. And you know, whether that ever comes along again or not was just up to fate. But those are the things I would hope for, just to have the chance to work more substantially in film and television. And yeah, that's what I'd like.
No, that's an honest answer, and I really do appreciate that because,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, isn't that should be the goal for any sort of actor or actress, you know, being able to really sink your teeth into a role that has an arc, you know,
Yeah,
do some
right.
real work. And
Yeah.
I do hope for that, you know,
Thank
because you are a
you.
truly amazing actress, and I think that you have so much more to give to the industry in just more ways than just simply being there for
Thank you.
3 days.
No,
Hey, of
that's
course.
very kind.
And I guess my last question for you would be if you have the chance to ever write and direct your own project, would you take that, or would you rather focus more on like the role of like just actress, you know, focus on your role rather than all the minutia that comes with that territory?
I don't know. I don't know that I would be a good director. I maybe, but I don't know. I don't know that I have that particular skill. But writing, yes. And I actually do have a couple of screenplays that I'm working on. One is it's kind of autobiographical from when I was young, and the other is taken from a story that I read in the news. And I keep kind of plugging away at those, understanding what the odds are for getting a film produced. But yeah, that is something that I enjoy working on um, when I'm not acting. So
That's really interesting. It's take it from someone who has tried their hand at writing themselves. That's never an easy task.
yeah,
So I really do wish the best of luck to you. And yeah, with how hard it is just to get an indie greenlit, I can't imagine how much work it would take in general.
yeah,
But I honestly do hope the best of luck to you. And for those people who are interested in watching A Holiday I Do, despite the fact that it's January, where could people check out A Holiday I Do?
Well, we didn't talk about the fact that it's a lesbian love story, which is something that sets it apart from many of the more formulaic holiday movies. And actually, one of the lovely things about Paul and Alicia is that they were very committed to including as much of the LGBTQ community as they could in the production. So among the cast and the crew, I think they had like 40% of the people involved were from the LGBTQ community.
Oh,
And that was another thing that made me interested, because I'm a strong supporter of that community, and just loved the idea that you could do something that was a little, off the beaten path. And so I love that about it, obviously. And I just I just lost my train of thought. So I don't know what the hell I was going to say, but it was really good. I can promise you
No,
that.
no, and hey, I apologies that for not bringing that up sooner because that was in the press release for the film. But yeah, no, A Holiday I Do actually does have a cast and crew that makes up like 40% of the cast and crew does comprise mostly of LGBTQ
Yeah.
members. And the aspect of the film that I didn't even get to mention, yeah, I watched it. The thing I really liked is it it felt very much like a Christmas Hallmark movie, both in tone and in style. But
Right.
the content of it would never ever appear on a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
So I really do enjoy that there is a film out there. There is a whole there's what was it? There was a review I saw for the movie, and it really got me chuckling. It was called A Hallmark Movie for the Gays. And
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh, cool.
and yeah, the guy gave it a 7 out of 10 because he's just like, it's a Hallmark movie and I'm a guy, and I'm like, oh, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's it is truly a Hallmark movie. It's very pleasant. It makes you
Yeah.
feel warm. It's a good to true Christmas movie. It's
Yeah. And what I like about it is that the handling of the relationship and everything, there's no, oh my God, my daughter's gay or anything like that. It was just as if this is just as natural as any other kind of love affair. And so in that respect, I was also eager to be a part of it because it's an opportunity to put a different kind of message into the world, and and the more normalizing these kinds of what some people think as abnormalities, the more they're normalized, the better off everyone is. So
no, you are absolutely correct.
yeah,
Because I do believe that there comes a point in which, you no longer have to like address these sort of
right.
things, that it's like it's like you don't need to stop the film and be like, oh yeah, so this happens and this then this. It's like, because your character and your daughter and your in movie daughter, you guys probably, like, it's very clear you guys already went past the whole I'm gay like aspect. It's just like,
Right.
hey, did you have a good time on your date? Not really. Well, oh shucks, honey, you'll get him again next time.
Yeah.
You are right. I do appreciate how a lot of more movies nowadays don't need to have those like 10 minutes of like drama
Yes.
where it's like, I'm gay. Oh my God. It's just, instead in this movie, it's I'm gay, I'm a mom, and I'm single.
Yeah.
It's also Christmas and I am tired. It's like, oh, okay, so let's just get into it. I am a huge fan of us of the way that cinema has approached these nowadays.
Yes.
Um,
And
but
I also love that the couple were divorced, and yet they were still best friends. And she was going to be the best woman at the movie, and to see on screen a couple that are able to do that, that's honorable,
and and not only that, but they're co-parenting their daughter together in a
Yeah,
pretty healthy manner. Like
yeah,
I, as much as everyone has their own opinions of divorce and yada 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 yada.
sure, of
One thing
course.
I really have enjoyed in not just movies like Holiday I Do, but in some ways movies like Mrs. Doubtfire, where
Yeah,
where like at the very end of the movie, Robin Williams and Sally Field don't get back together. They just learn to work their problems out and be better parents for their kids.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that is very much evident in A Holiday I Do, where you do see Lindsay's character and the husband and the ex-husband character. You can tell they are trying, but it's nice. For those of you who have either already watched it or are going to watch it, um, it's A Holiday I Do does tackle some things that have been taboo in the past, but it does so in this. It doesn't do it in a way that seems insincere. It doesn't pretend like it's like, oh, my parents are divorced, but they're happy go lucky. Like you do see that there's still like contention, but you can tell that they're adults and they want what's best for their kids. And I think
Right.
you want to know what? Before I go on and gush more about A Holiday I Do, just for those of you that haven't seen it, go see it. There's a lot of great messaging in it,
Yes.
and it tries to do what any good Christmas movie does, which is leave you wanting to be a better person than when you went in.
That's right. That's right. That's very well said. Very well said. And you can see it on a lesbian streaming platform called Tello, Tello. But I would guess that all you need to do is Google "Watch Holiday I Do" and you'll arrive there.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's funny. How do I watch it? Just Google A Holiday I Do and watch it. It's in the top 3 results.
that's
But
right.
no, Jill, it has been a pleasure talking with you. I wholeheartedly appreciate the time you've given me, and I hope you have not only a great rest of your day, but I hope that whatever project you work on next, you kick as much ooh,
Ash,
ass. Yes, fine. I'll say kick as much ass in that role as you have with all of the roles before.
well, thank you. Thank you, Noah. It's been delightful talking with you. I've got this great big grin on my face. I don't know, but it's been great. So thank you.
Thank you very much. A Holiday I Do out now. Please go check it out.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching.
You can check out our website for all the content we produce.
Clicking all those YouTube buttons makes it so you see more content from myself and the other amazing creators at Kai's Corner Productions. All donations help us produce more stuff like that for you.
See you guys in the next one. Peace.